Hey folks, Shelby here. Just gonna do a review on this new Liebherr R914 with Steelwrist that I got from Quality Fleet Services, and yeah, I just want to sort of go over why I got it, things about it that I think are different, interesting, unique, and just some general thoughts. I haven't got much time on it. I mean, you know, a few hours or whatever, not hundreds of hours, so it certainly isn't a long-term review. It's just an operations review and a features review. So yeah, I'm gonna just kind of go over things and hope it's helpful. Well, just to sort of start with, I think it's a nice looking machine for sure. It is a little bit of an older design. I think this generation came out at least 7 years ago. There have been updates in the cab since this machine was first released, but the overall design of this machine has not changed in quite some time. So it's certainly not the latest in design and engineering. They do have a Gen 8. This is a Gen 6. I don't even know what happened to Gen 7. Yeah, so this is the machine I'm going to go over. And obviously, I'm also going to talk about the Steelwrist. And I've got some also, you know, I'm going to do some comparison between Steelwrist and Encon. And yeah, so to just begin with, I mean, one of the things, this is the first machine of this size that I've owned. I've run bigger machines, not a ton. I haven't put thousands of hours in full-size excavators. I'm really more of a mini and midi excavator guy for the majority of my work. So I definitely will not be able to do, I would say, a very useful comparison. I did test a number of machines when buying this, so I have some sort of point of reference on a few things like smoothness, speed, cabin design, that kind of stuff. But this is certainly not a comparison video between this and other machines of the same class. Except for on features, which is, when you're buying, I mean, those are at least the things that you can sort of look at on a piece of paper or whatever. And there's certainly design differences that this has. One of the things about this machine that is, I would say, its most unique feature on the market is, as far as I know, it's the only one, certainly within the American market, that is sold from factory with full auto grease installed. I will get into some caveats to that, but basically it's set up from the factory with an auto grease. In fact, let me show you just sort of one of the nice things about it coming from the factory is the fact that it's installed in this nice tucked away location. It's not just slapped on top somewhere. So, that's one of the things that's nice about it being a factory installed auto greasing system. Just going into sort of general looking at machine layout, machine design. It's a reduced tail swing model. It's not a zero tail swing, but it's pretty short. In fact, having it turn sideways is a good time to sort of show you how little tail swing it has. I mean, it's not much. A foot maybe, something like that. One of the things about this machine that I think is extra unique, I don't know if anybody else, I'm pretty sure nobody else does this in most excavators, and Liebherr really does this in a lot of their excavators. It's one of their, it's another one of their very unique things. It's going to be a little hard to see, but this cover here, that's the engine. Let me pop this open here. There it is. So side engine is something my little Volvo has, and I appreciate. They are doing a few, Hyundai I think maybe has switched over to side engine. A few other people, Eurocomec maybe, I believe. But this is certainly the only, what I call a full-size excavator, still a small excavator, that is side engine. And really, for the day-to-day operation, doesn't make any difference. I feel like this machine is a little bit squatter, so you get a little better back view than similar reduced tail swing models of the same class. So that may be because of this side engine, they can do that. But generally, it's really about maintenance, repair, and just thinking about the longevity of this engine is what I think this design, the side engine, really speaks to. Obviously, you've got your ground access filters, but everybody's doing that. But most people are doing that by routing them over to some side door. Here, they're mounted on the engine in the same way that everything else is mounted on every other old engine, right to it. I mean, we've got filters, we've got air filter, the hydraulic pump. I mean, beautiful. I mean, you could just pull that off in a jiffy. You could work on it. Hoses are easy. We are looking at, this is our, I think that's a fuel filter, I'm pretty sure. I don't actually see where the, there's the oil filter. Oh, it's a tiny little oil filter. Yeah, so just, it's the access. I mean, you got the fan. It's a hydraulic fan, so it's a reversing fan, which is nice. So getting into some other aspects as I go around this machine, talk about the blade. Nice curved blade. I'm sure it doses beautifully. Haven't done much with it. Cylinder guards, obviously stout, well built. These are really fascinating. These are rolling cylinder guards, so they guard the pistons perfectly. I mean, that's a phenomenal. I mean, because so long as this is riding on here, even denting this is just, I mean, it's going to be super hard to do. So very well protected. Keeps the valve body tucked under the machine, which is nice. And it puts, some people, in order to protect these, they actually invert it so that your cylinder is, so that your push rod is up top. But then your hose routing has to come down to the bottom, so that becomes exposed. And then you are actually getting your strength on your lift instead of your push, which is the opposite of what you want if you're going to lift the machine up in the air. This is obviously going to be stronger because you're always stronger on the push of a rod than the pull of a rod. So I think that's nice. It does mean that if you're working on the machine and you go walk up there, I've almost done this, and you step on those cylinder guards, they're going to spin under your feet. And so there's, that's a little dangerous, but hopefully that's not something you're doing on a regular basis. Going into the tracks, I mean, the tracking of this is a huge part of why I bought it. Just to sort of give you a reasoning, I am a Mechalak guy. I've got this Mechalak. It's fast, and I love that. I mean, I just think that having a machine that just moves fast around the job is just so nice. I do run my Volvo is not fast, and it frustrates me all the time. So when I went to go buy this big excavator and I saw that Liebherr was doing a 4.5 mph high speed on a conventional excavator, I was already kind of sold. Obviously I like the auto grease too, because I'm a big auto grease guy, but the tracking speed to me is just, I mean, nobody else does it. I mean, everybody else I think is 3.4 is sort of the average for these machines. Somebody I think maybe had a 3.6, but it's 4.3 to 4.5, and yeah, it's really nice. It's not the 6 mph of the Mechalak, but it's still faster than everybody else, and it just means that you just move around the job faster and you get things done faster. And it's also just before I go back into something else, it's a highish track, I would say. It's higher than every other machine to me, at least a little bit. But it's also got the double rollers, which is uncommon in this size class. It's got the track guards. So, that's just a nice feature. Some people do it, some people don't. It's nice that they have it on here as standard. But the height of the tracks is nice because it puts the cab up just a little bit higher than other people, which means you get a little bit of visibility into dump trucks and demolition jobs, and just, yeah, I mean, obviously being too tall can be a problem for trucking and for other things, stability maybe, but it's often really nice. I mean, the more you can look down into what you're doing, even if you're just digging a hole, I think it's an improvement. So getting into some more of the things, I mean, let's just go over the auto grease. It's from factory, so beautiful install. They also have it set up with an extra block that you can utilize and I'll get into more of that at what they did at the end of the stick, but it's well thought out. The hose routing is nice, and you can see even with that extra block, they've got extra mounts for the extra hose for when you set up the final block on the end of the stick. Auto grease, just I know it's not that common, especially on smaller machines. I mean, it's pretty common on loaders and everything in a mine. They're big, and greasing all that would be a pain, and it's worth it on the investment. But honestly, to me, it's worth it on everything. I mean, I have it on my minis. Time savings is obviously big, but also just the fact that it greases while you're in motion means that you're getting grease around all of the pin. You're not just one-sidedly greasing something, and it's consistent. You're not getting a spike up when you grease, and then at the end of the day, you're running dry. This is a little bit of grease all the time, so you're always running fully greased forever. So, I mean, basically, you should have almost no pin wear at all. I mean, you could go 20,000 hours probably on these pins. I'm probably exaggerating, but it's definitely going to be more than if you're hand greasing. Just, looking at this same zone, I can actually go over, there's some other things going on here, which is this pilot check valve. So also a feature on my Mechalak, you can see all those hoses. Let's see if I can get you in there. Right, you see all those hoses? Same thing's going on there. And what's going on is that in order for this cylinder to go up or down, it first has to see pilot pressure. And once that pilot pressure hits, then the valve can open. And the thing about that is if you have a burst hose on a normal excavator, then the piston will settle. The whole system is locked. So if you have a hydraulic failure on the machine, or you have a hose that bursts, this piston will not recess, the boom won't come down, and it's just much safer. So am I lifting over people's heads or over delicate things all the time, and I need that extra level of safety? Absolutely not. No, most of the time I'm just digging holes. But there's nothing wrong with extra safety if it doesn't impede operation, and this does not impede operation. I've already been running for years with a machine that has it. This has it. I've had other people who test out this machine who are longer term operators than me, and they all say this machine is nice and smooth. So clearly it does not affect operation. So that's just something that I appreciate that they do standard. I know in Europe and UK, I think at this point they're all required by law, but in the US it's really rare, especially on a smaller machine. So I'm glad to have a machine that has it. Other things out here to look at. Good lighting, great lighting, nice guarding. That one's, a little bit more exposed. Hose routing is nice. There's a rotation sensor on the arm, which I can get into more when I get into show you some stuff in the computer. And then coming down to the end of the stick here, you'll obviously see that I have a Steelwrist on here. I'm a tilt rotator guy. I got one 3-4 years ago now, and I just can't. I can't imagine working without them. I mean, I can. I have worked without them. I drop them sometimes. I do things without them, but it's about how I bid my jobs. Is that I bid them based on what I am capable of with a tilt rotator. And so the challenge when I was ordering this machine, or when I've purchased other machines in the past, I thought, oh, well, maybe I can get away without it for a little while, and I'll buy it later. But every time I end up finally pulling the trigger, I just get it, because I know that I've bid the jobs. Based on it, I don't have extra labor because I'm so used to running them, and they eliminate a lot of labor work. So if I were to get a machine without it, I'd have to hire more people, which would be a whole different challenge. And I've also, my pricing and my scheduling and my timing, it's all based around the efficiency that I have with a tilt rotator. And so when it comes down to it, once you have them, you just kind of need them. They change the way that you work. They change the way that you run your business. So that's why I went with this. As far as Steelwrist is concerned, why I went with Steelwrist, the coupler is a big one. I think OpenS is just a better system than the Encon EC Oil. And other than that, I really, one big thing for me going for Steelwrist is I like to try new things, because I I just do, you know. I like to have variety in my life. I like to know what's out there. I like to not get stuck in a rut. And so that was certainly one of the reasons that I switched away from Encon, not because I was inherently unhappy with them. I've been very happy with their service department and their parts department and the quality of the actual tilt rotators. But I just, you know, people say they like the Steelwrist, and I thought I'd give it a go. So here it is. And of course, it gives me the opportunity to do a comparison review. So that's sort of, you know, I'll get more into that. I've got another whole clip on that. So I won't go too deep into the Steelwrist on this, but yeah. So kind of going back into some of the Liebherr stuff, just since we're now out here and we can look at some more, you know, we got the auto grease, it's coming down to here. But one thing that I noticed is that it's not coming to here. And basically the explanation that they gave me is that they don't run it to the end because they want you to be able to put the final block on the system based on whatever it is you're putting here. And so that's why they've got that extra open block on the main. And so you run your extra hose up here, you design your custom block. They have a kit, you could buy the kit, or for me, I'll probably end up getting it made locally. You get that, and then you route for the final routing. And that's how they've, for the pipeline build for these machines that they sort of are standard machines, that's how they spec them. Which, obviously, I'd rather them just do it all and then I can just run a main line or something like that for my attachment, but it's all right. I do understand the reasoning for it. Yeah, so I guess that's, you know, I would say that's sort of the majority of what's interesting about this machine from the outside. And yeah, let's take a look on the inside. So, I mean, just standing out here looking at it, nice big door, nice big cab, you know, it's 15-ton compact. It's always, people, you know, over time we've gotten better at making bigger and bigger cabs. This one's no exception to that. It's a nice big cab on a nice small machine. So, you know, plenty of room to get in and out. I mean, the foot pedals is obviously an important thing. They're nice, big, you know, foot pedals. I do wish they were maybe a little more spread apart. They're kind of tight together. HVAC is good, seat's good. Yeah, I don't think there's sort of anything exceptional to say about the general cab. Cup holders, very nice. Lots. Let's see if we can get a good clip of here. You know, lots of good storage, fire extinguisher, packets of things, another cup holder, or in my case, a paper towel holder. One of the Liebherr things, and it took me a while to really find some good videos on this, so hopefully this might help somebody, is I've seen a few clips of people operating, and I always see this like just crazy amount of buttons, which is, I would say, a very, very distinctly Liebherr design. A lot of other people do a lot more like jog dials and just less buttons. And one of the complicated things about this is that not all these buttons do anything. This is a standard control panel. They have options they can add in over here, but for the most part, this panel is true on almost all of their excavators, which means that there's a bunch of things here that don't do anything, such as I've got a track extension button. I don't have extendable tracks. You know, so I just don't know what, you know, some of these buttons, I don't know if it has an overload mode. I don't know what this button does. So, you know, it's a sort of an interesting design choice, but the idea is that basically everything is a button, which I do actually like. You know, I mean, a lot of people, and this has it, the touch screen, where instead of, let's get this thing turned on, you know, all the modern machines, all the new machines, they're putting the HVAC into the touchscreen, they're putting the radio into the touchscreen, they're putting just everything into the touchscreen, which means you've got all these, it takes forever to do anything, you know, turn off the volume, to change your temperature. And in fact, speaking of which, I can, if I hit this button, I should be able to Well, we'll see. See, it is a new machine, like I said. I haven't exactly figured out what everything does. I mean, I'm looking at this. We've got auto econ. I've got defrost, but it apparently does not turn off the fan. So instead, I can go into here. It's gonna be hard for you guys to see probably. We can turn down the fan. So that one I do have to add in. You know, we've got economy mode and we've got auto mode. And if I go to auto, you'll see it goes right back up. And then if I disable auto, it still stayed up, which is an interesting, so you can't turn it off without going into the screen, but you can turn the auto mode on or off. So, you know, they had to make some choices, and I get it. And I think for the most part, obviously, I'm just gonna leave it in auto mode because you're sitting in the cab and you wanna be comfortable. You do have different zones, you know, automotive situation there, so that's fascinating. Obviously you can set your temperature for your auto mode. You know, and then there's radio. Let's see here, pictures. Actually, I think the radio isn't here on this machine, but we do have a radio off button. But if I actually look up here, we just have a nice old school radio, nice old school Bluetooth radio. So definitely some sort of older gen stuff still going on here compared to new machines, and I kind of appreciate that, actually. I don't, you know, I'm really big into technology, but I like to have it adopted appropriately and when it's fully fledged, and to an extent. I am a little bit of an early adopter of tilt rotators in the US, but not of tilt rotators as a technology. They've been around in Scandinavia for 35 years, and so what I'm getting is a pretty proven product. Just more cab review. I've got lights down here to change between backhoe and excavator controls. You just hit this button and then you hit confirm and it switches. So I have to hold down the confirm button. That's too slow. Right, so pretty easy. Which is nice. You do start and stop it with this red button, and they don't want you to start and stop it. Well, you can't start it with a key, but you can stop it with a key, but then it messes with the emission system, so they say that you should not. Yeah, I mean, just good visibility, nice comfortable cab. They got nice shades here that you can pull out to cover this window to get rid of the sun. Same thing here. Let's see, I think, yep, press that button and it retracts. So, yeah, very comfortable cab, great seat, good visibility, and just, yeah, I think it's really about sort of this interesting button design that they've chosen that really makes this unique. So, that's the interior. So, yeah, so here I am in my Liebherr, yeah, we've got these Steelwrist joysticks. So one of the things about the Steelwrist joysticks, just to really start off the bat, I mean, you'll see smaller. So just, you know, you just don't have the big square top. So if you do want to mess around on the inside, it's a little tighter working on the wiring. The actual feel of the joysticks, it's nice. The texturing, I don't know if you can really sort of pick that out in the video a little bit there. I guess it adds to grip. I'm sort of 6 of one, half dozen of the other on that. You will notice there's no wrist catch. So if I want to swing this way, I do have to actually grab it. This Liebherr, these controls are so easy on the hands that there's certainly no problem with that. Stress, work-wise, really, it's just an option that they don't really fully support. Going back to the rollers. So one of the things about the rollers is on the Steelwrist, if on the Encon, if you get 1, 2, 3 rollers, it doesn't change your button situation at all because they're on the bottom. They don't put them on the top, and so they just have space for them on the bottom to put extra rollers if you want them. On the Steelwrist, you have 1 roller on the top, you have 1 roller on the bottom, and if you want another roller, you lose 2 buttons. So if you're trying to do a lot of things, you're doing complicated work with your machine, and you have lots of electronic options or whatever it is you got going on, you just get less with these Steelwrist Fab joysticks. Both of them have the option. These ones came with these selector buttons. Actually, we're going to try and get rid of them. I don't need them. It's part of the Liebherr OEM joystick, and so they had to do something to replicate it, I guess. But it certainly doesn't serve any function on this machine, and so there's no point in maintaining it. Mostly they're used for forward back on a wheeled machine. One of the big things, and we'll get this thing started and take a look at it, is that in Steelwrist, and I believe Rototilt does this as well, and anybody who uses the Fab system, Rototilt's not Fab anymore, but many people are, is that you have this computer and you program everything in it. I'm not going to go through any of that. It's pretty comprehensive. I do appreciate that it's all within the system the whole time, but it's kind of awkward doing it on here. It's honestly easier to just do it with a computer, so I kind of appreciate the way that Encon has gone about it. But if you have a problem or you want to make some major adjustment, obviously it's going to be easier on the job with a Steelwrist Fab install. So that's definitely something that what was appealing to me. I wanted to experience it. I wanted to understand what this situation meant because I'm so used to Encon. I like to sort of understand what's out there, and so getting more accustomed, you can go into the layout, we can show what the buttons do. You can adjust speeds, you can adjust all the features. I mean, you can get into the milliamps, you can get into the feeder rate, you can really get all programming through this screen. You do have this clinometer, so it just tells you what the tilt is, and you can set your zeros and stuff like that. Kind of cool. I guess if you're working blind, I could understand it coming in handy. It is not accurate enough to communicate to a 2D grade system on the tilt sensor. They have new rotation sensors in all their newer tilt rotators that are, and so this is, I don't have the monitor in here, but I have iDig, and it does communicate with the rotation sensor. So I have tilt from iDig and then rotation from Steelwrist, so I have perfectly accurate, well, within a hundredth of an inch, hundredth of a foot accuracy, no matter where I tilt or rotate my bucket. So that is obviously very, very nice. So those are some of the big things. I mean, obviously I went into depth about the Steelwrist joystick. Oh, in fact, here, now that I think about it, there's my double rollers. So this, right, there's no extra buttons here. If I want to do the blade, because the blade was on a jog dial, on the joystick on the original Liebherr controls, there's no foot for the blade, or no arm thing for the blade. You have to do it through the electronic system. So in order for me to run the blade, I hold down this button and I move the finger roller on this joystick here. Some other things that are interesting about this cab, and just sort of about the Liebherr in general, just looking at more of their design choices. Nice, they've designed it, I would say, more open than some cabs I've seen as far as maintenance is concerned, or installing custom things. I mean, they've got this wiring. I mean, it's just very open back there. So pulling wires around, installing my iDig was pretty straightforward, and things like that. I haven't ever seen this before, and I think it's brilliant. So there's the fuse panel, really easy to get at. Obviously, I appreciate that. They are also switched fuses. So if they blow, you just press a button and reset it. You don't have to replace it. I mean, if you have a serious surge or something, maybe it's to burn them out. But I think that's a brilliant idea. It'd be nice if more people did that, because it's a lot more convenient, of course. Yeah, I always do think, with fuses, if you blow a fuse in normal operation, you've got a real problem, and fixing the fuse is not the answer. But like the other day when I was wiring, I cut the wire for the cigarette lighter so I could wire into it, and the fuse tripped, because I didn't have the key in the off position. And apparently the key didn't matter because it's an always on thing. So instead of having to replace the fuse, I could just push the button, reset it, and wire to somewhere else. So yeah, just a cool choice by them. I mean, the box back here is huge. The new Volvos, not the 145, I don't believe, they have a cold box in the up to and starting in the 160, I believe, which this obviously doesn't have. It's just too small of a cab, but that is a cool feature. So yeah, I mean, nice clean floor, easy to keep clean, and otherwise that's the cab for you. Plenty of HVAC ports back here, good speakers.